Hey again, it's Peter. Thank you for all the questions and the comments from the previous training. It's awesome to see that so many people are interested in developing their cultural intelligence. As we said in the last video about how so much easier to travel now and so many people are moving around for living and working, which creates an increasing amount of diversity in the workplace and around it. And also talked about how developing your CQ can help you better collaborate, work with people to get better results faster at the new markets and become a better leader, even if you're not the person in charge officially. This is the way that can lead to better jobs and pay raises. We dove into the first step of developing your cultural intelligence, which is understanding yourself, identifying your motivations, your biases, both conscious and unconscious, and how you can build self-awareness with meditation. I talked about how CQ can help you, so how CQ helped develop my startup, enter new markets that were difficult to access, resolve conflicts, come up with better solutions internally that helped us succeed. So now the next step I'm going to do is answer some of the questions again that we got, and then I'm going to dive into the second step of developing your CQ. So as far as questions, the first question is how to address stereotyping where it's a cultural norm. So the first step is to make sure you look from your point of view. Make sure that none of your own cultural perspective or biases are affecting your perception. Now, once that's done, you try to understand what they're stereotyping and for what reason. Maybe it's to simplify some situations for maybe marketing purposes, or in other cases, ignorance based from some historical past. In some countries, there's some rule against this. So you can talk about to the right department about the rules, enforcing some guidelines, punitive measures, but also bringing some training that can help with these biases. But this is not feasible in every situation. One of the best ways to approach this is to understand what is a way that you can link the outcome of fighting this or changing this behavior with the bottom line of the company. So maybe the first step, you can show how a diverse team can be of great benefit for a company. Now there's plenty of statistics for that. So if you can bring a nice case where diversity is one thing, but these people need to bring their whole self. But if they are being treated poorly, then why would they bring their whole self? The company would lose out. So in any of these cases where you can directly link the bottom line of the company with this change in behavior, is a powerful motivator. That's a good way to start. Second question, what are strategies you can put in place to effectively communicate in the context of a culture that is different from our own? Now, if you're alone as a foreigner in a new environment where everybody is kind of consistently or homogeneously from another culture, then the best thing for you is for you to learn and adapt to the situation. This way you can relate to these people almost as if you're from there, and also understand the communication and be understood. It's much easier for you to make a change, especially since you're motivated here, than to have everybody else to change. And first understand and have them understand why to change, especially if you're in their home environment. That'd be a moment gigantic task. Second case is if you might be in a leadership position and there might be other cultures. So if it's not just you're by yourself, but in a place where you have a good deal of mixture of diversity. So in this case, the best approach is to bring the team together and look at what the challenges are and why you want to change the communication. It is good to have this specific idea. It could be because the communication style is different in terms of direct versus indirect. It could be maybe just a feedback mechanism. It will also be like a mindset of collaboration. If, let's say, a place is more hierarchical or less hierarchical, that can affect communication. So here, the best approach is to co-create a new method that can either be closer to one of the people's communication style, only if it's practical, not because you're favoring them, or just creating a new system where you set clear rules, like communicate directly, concisely, also respectfully. If in doubt, seek clarification, regardless of hierarchy. For example, this could be rules, which could mix different aspects. And if, as the leadership, you model this behavior, then even in cases where it's hierarchical, that are not used to maybe be more open about their questions, they're gonna see that, oh, they're doing up the bosses are doing, everybody else is doing. If they encouraged, then I can do it. So it may take a while to adapt, to more modify, but in the end, it's worth it. Now, one thing though is, if you're a leader especially, it's best to know still on one-on-one, so the different cultures you're dealing with, understand them, so understand how they're each different. So when you need to do your one-on-ones, then you can meet them in their comfort zone. Or if you need to have like a difficult conversation, then it might be best in some cases that instead of doing the new general cultural guideline, is to really go where this person is comfortable in their comfort zone, to share some negative feedback maybe, or if there's some challenges with the with their role or their position, they'll appreciate it, and also you're gonna get more out of it. So basically, as you saw, in some cases, it's on you to change. It's the most practical approach. In some cases, it's creating something together. But in other cases, it's about being curious, patient, and humble. So now I'm going to look at how to learn about others. So initially, the mindset. I mean, the most important mindset is the way you look at it. That things could be different, just different, not better, not worse. So anytime something is unexpected, you like seek to see like, oh, maybe there's another way, instead of just looking at it as if, oh, this is wrong, when it doesn't match your definition of what's right. Second is, so when something's unexpected, seek to understand instead of judging. This can lead to like really fun discoveries. For example, I was at Singularity University talking to one of the cohort members from Korea, and I was telling them how the way you build rapport, you meet somebody new, can change. In the US, they ask about what do you do, and then do small talk. And she was telling me how in Korea you don't do small talk, and so that for her was difficult, uncomfortable to be here. But what they do is the first thing they ask is not what you do, is how old are you? I was thinking, in the US, especially if you have a woman, that would be something. And then I understood that in that culture, how you call somebody, if they're older than you or younger, it changes. In English, you don't have that. So if somebody only spoke English, they could not wrap their head around this. And I spoke French and Hungarian, where you have different ways of calling somebody from another age group, where there's a big difference. But you see, in those cultures, the politeness is based on you know them or not, one aspect, and the other one is if they're a lot older than you. In Korea, even if they're a year older, they have to figure out who's the oldest, even if it's a year difference. So you see, that's a very interesting insight into that culture. So that tells me also a lot about how rules are important and how society is structured, and all from a random conversation. Also develop a high level of knowledge about how cultures are different and similar. In the last video, if you haven't seen it, check it out. We saw 3 aspects where you can compare how cultures are similar or different. One was time perception, Are you precise or flexible on time? Communication, direct or indirect? And are you group oriented or individualistic? There's no right here and there's no wrong. It's where you are and how different or similar you can be. So having this framework of this mindset of like always seeking to understand, just being open to having another way and having a general sense of how things are similar or different can really help you when you see a new person. Then you can identify, okay, in this aspect they're similar, this aspect different. Let me be more careful and seek to ask questions. Honestly, maybe there's some really interesting new way for them to look at things. So once you have this base, first step, let's look at before you meet somebody. Doing a little background research is good. Let's see the ethnicity. So then again, on a high level, you can get a sense of who they're gonna be, or maybe more conservative, maybe less, maybe this group, families is more important for them, like the Middle Eastern, Africans, Latin American, and many of the Asian countries. So you know that the way they look at this is family is very important. So if you can quickly find out if they have kids, and if you have kids, then something that you can bring up, and you know that it's going to be a very easy topic to bond over. What you can also look at is places they work at. So if let's say they're Colombian, but they spent 10 years in Germany, 5 years in the UK, and they worked in Microsoft, then you can tell like, oh, maybe, okay, Microsoft is a structured company. They have certain culture. You have Germans and the UK, the European countries. And when you know about the other, how cultures differ or not, then you can see that maybe they've shifted their cultural behavior to this. So when you meet them, then you know, let me see, maybe they're gonna behave like a German or like a Colombian, but have that ready. And what also learning about these people, a little bit of research background, check out LinkedIn or ask around, can also give you clues about what they might be interested in, and this can lead to finding common grounds that then you can use to bring up. So once you have some background, let's look at first contact. When you meet the other people, mirroring is really useful, and we wrote an article. I did a video about mirroring. Check out our blog. And approach each interaction from a place of curiosity. Think about it like when a good friend of yours introduces one of their friends. You don't know them, but you come from a place of like, oh, you're looking forward to it. And if you find some common something common in the research, then bring it up. Also, if you're visiting somebody's country, comment on how beautiful it is and specific things. Oh, I saw this building, really beautiful. If you are in your home country, then you can start the interaction with the norm that you know is the norm in your country. So if it's small talk, start with that, but then try to go toward more deeper, open-ended questions. Some of my favorites are, what would make this year meaningful for you? Or how do you like to spend your vacation? Or in the case of a culture that is really focused on a career, is how do you define a successful career? So you see, it's open-ended. It makes them think. It's deeper than just the shallow, almost automatic small talk, and can give you clues again of what you might have in common. And also, if you find something interesting about their culture, now's the time to drop it. That's what I call cultural name dropping. So it could be something like, the other day I was listening to Amr Diab, and I heard he's popular in this region. This is, let's say, go to Egypt. Amr Diab is an Egyptian singer, and very popular. So the fact that you're interested in their culture is already a good point. Food also brings people together. So you could say, oh, I heard of kosher is a famous dish here, let's say in Egypt, and I'd love to try it while I'm here. Again, this interest and this, if the person loves food also, which many people do, can again be one more bond topic to bond over. And in all this, look at the interactions between the genders, between the older, younger, different, hierarchy of a society, for example, how they talk between themselves and with foreigners. This can kind of give you a gauge to see what's going on. What are the interactions? Are people very respectful of elders or not? And this can help you know how to behave. Keep in mind that as a foreigner, there's some things that you can do that others cannot, and vice versa. So always be very, very careful. And if in doubt, try to verify, ask a trusted friend. Also look at communication. Are people talking directly or indirectly, like between the lines? Is it being formal or more like casual? And also how they do it with the different people. Is it maybe the boss is really talking down at the insubordinates consistently? Or is it all kind of like treating each other as equal? Look at also eye contact and personal space. Do they stand close together? A lot of physical touching, eye contact, intense gaze, or let's say just the boss looks at the subordinate looks away. These are small things to learn about the culture that can later can be useful. So once you have this first contact, then it's about developing the relationship. So approach every interaction with a place of service. How can you help? And don't keep track of count. Over time, this will help you because this is how people remember you, and you can develop the social capital that later on can help you get to score jobs, raises, and other kind of great opportunities. What you want to do is check in regularly to see how people are doing at least every 6 months or 12 months if you don't see them often. And you can also set up a phone call or a video call. These are best because then you have that personal interaction. Now, and if you see something that could be valuable for them, then share it. Especially if it's, and don't always make sure you give for a number of times and you develop the relationship before asking for anything. So you see a cool article, something that's useful, share it. Oh, I thought about you here. So when you need them, then it won't be weird to ask for something. If you work with these people, organize opportunities to socialize. In some cultures, it's more common, in some others, it's not. But still, it's great to have sharing meal, small group. This is when the guards go down, and the people, you can get to know the human being instead of just, let's say, the person as a member of a certain group. It's this person, oh, he's one of the Hungarians. No, you get to know him as, oh, this is Peter. He's really cool. He loves to travel. He's this kind of sense of humor. He has a sister. You know, the more human, the better you get to know them. And as you lead these people someday, that's going to be very useful. So now let's look at. So you might be thinking, oh, it's not fair for you to make all the effort. Well, not everybody is blessed with the knowledge that you are acquiring here. So some others might not even know. And also the rewards are well worth it. The alternative is the status quo. It's also, you can look at it from the point of view of being the change you want to see. Or, I mean, this is a bit twisted comparison, but the saying goes, for eye for an eye, the whole world goes blind. In this case, is if nobody does anything, then everybody is just on their own, losing out. So if, let's say, there are 10 people, each of them you come and you try to help them if you can and make this effort. 8 of them will probably reciprocate. And some of them who will stand out, who are going to go out of their way to then give back. So you'll end up with 2 people who don't do anything. Most of them will remember you positively, and a few of them this will develop into a really great relationship. And you might have one opportunity out of this that is worth 1,000 times the energy that you put in. Maybe tomorrow, maybe in a year, maybe in 5 years. Maybe it's in a friend of a friend of a friend who you met through this network. But sooner or later, amazing opportunities will come for you. That there's no doubt. So think about for you, what's in it for you. You will get the benefits. The other person, maybe indirectly, but again, it's not about keeping track. So you might also be thinking, oh, you're dealing with a bigoted behavior. So it's perfectly right for you to not to engage. The decision is of yours. Often the bigoted behavior could be simply due to ignorance and them not realizing it. Maybe they're having a whole different perspective and intention that is not at all malicious, but from your perception, based on looking from your context, it looks bigoted. So it's often finding out what's going on, you realize it's actually not at all what's going on. And coming with a clean slate, it really helps with this. No preconceptions that can show in the way you act. Just give people the benefit. If they might waste it, and then you can choose. You let it go, or you try to build a rapport. But at least having that one chance everybody gets is good. Also, people sometimes say, oh, people are the same, I don't need special efforts. This is, you might think that in one context they've been successful, then good with people, oh, let's just do the same. Well, the high level might be the same, we want to make friends, but what it looks like is cultural. How we greet, how we build rapport, what we value, all that's cultural. So if you're used to, let's say, giving big hugs to everybody here in your culture, and you go to, let's say, Egypt and in the countryside, and you try to do that with a woman, that's not going to go down well. The fact that you're a foreigner will only buy you very little benefit of the doubt. Now, if you show up there, and even as a foreigner, you behave the right way, in a way that they see that is respectful in their context, the fact that they know you value them enough to make the effort to behave like them for their rules, not your own, that goes the opposite way, much more positive outcome. So there are differences, and ignoring them is foolish. Just like and also it can hurt. It will hurt you, and it can hurt others. Sometimes those you want to protect. It's like when people say, "Oh, here in the corporate world in the US, oh, I don't see color," and they're trying to be like allies to the discriminated minorities. Actually, you are denying their differences, which are something that is there, and if you don't address it, then you're not helping them. So it's important to just realize, yeah, you might, on a universal level, might have the same interests, but how it's lived on a day-to-day basis is different on even every culture, and you can have persons who are even more different. Maybe somebody is shy, maybe someone's an introvert. See, that's on a person-person basis, not necessarily cultural. So now that you look at how we understand others, the next step is gonna be how to bring this together, how to do day-to-day collaboration, how to resolve conflict, how to develop leadership in your team, depending on what kind of approach you want. Again, in this video, just like in last one, I'm going to ask you to go in the comments and enter a comment, share what you learned here, what was the most valuable, and how these things from this session would be helpful for you. Okay, check it out, and see you in the next video.